to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Debbie Georgiani along with Jerry Usher. And currently I am in Buffalo, New York at the Station of the Cross Fun Drive. And Jerry Usher is in Fort Wayne, Indiana at Redeemer Radio's Share-a-thon. And so we are separated, but we do have Skype that we are using, and that keeps us connected. But today we're talking about a topic that I think can relate to all of us and all of our areas that we live in across the world, actually. We're talking about those wonderful souls that we see on the street corners, really pleading for help. You can call them maybe beggars, street corner beggars. You can call them people that are just kind of down and out and need a little bit of a hand to get back up. But they make it somewhat of their occupation, if you will, to be on that street corner and to really appeal to the mercy and the compassion that we can offer. And as Catholic Christians, we feel, I know I can pretty much speak for all of us listening, that there is that part of us that it really hits us hard and saying, wow, what can I do for this person? How can I help this person? Am I doing the right thing by giving them money? I don't want them to do anything foolish with the money. I want it to help them. So we feel that. We feel that. I would say the majority of us all feel that. And what do we do about that? So let's talk about that today. The number to dial to get in on this discussion about when we come to that stoplight and we encounter that stranger that is standing there with a sign that says, please help me. And then at the end it says, God bless you. What do we do? What's our response? Do we say a prayer? Do we take action? What do we do? 1-800-585-9396. Jerry, I know this affects all of us, and it's really, I think, a really good conversation for us to have as Catholic Christians.
Yeah, it really is, and all of our hearts should go out to those who are in positions like this. The freeway off-ramps, again, you see them at the stop signs and the intersections, and a lot of people have very interesting theories about this. They really don't need the money or the money they get. Some people will say, well, all the money they get, they're not paying taxes on, and they could make hundreds a day. Well, should that be a concern of ours? I don't know. I've even heard, Debbie, some people speculate that they're victims of human trafficking. Some people are taken advantage of and brought to these places and put out there by people who say, look, if you know what's best for you, if you love your kids, get out there and we're going to take 50% or 75%. I mean, these are possibly outlandish theories, but they're things I hear. But again, should that matter to us? Should we just simply do the Christ-like thing? 1-800-585-9396 is our number. Weigh in on this with your take. And Debbie, if I may just take another minute or so here. We had a call at the end of yesterday's show from Barbara. She did not get on the air, and I don't know yet if she is going to email us or not, but I wanted to address Barbara. She shared with us that her son lost his battle with depression, and she was hurt by something that I said on the air. And Barbara, I pray to God that He divinely appointed you to be listening right now. I would love to talk with you about this and by phone or email, but I made some comments. We were talking yesterday about people who push God out of their lives and out of the world and basically say, God, get out, and reject Him and turn away from Him and His plan. And the comments that I made, I said this for a lot of people could lead to discouragement, to be despondent, to be depressed, maybe even to take their own lives. And I was in no way referring to somebody like Barbara's son or anybody else who is trying to live for the Lord and all of that. My point that I tried to make, and if I was insensitive about it, Barbara and others, I sincerely apologize. But Debbie, if you remember, the point that I simply was trying to make was when you turn from God and flee from Him, it leaves you nowhere to go except into darkness and despair. So I'm talking about people who reject God and turn away from Him and just basically harden themselves that at some point, remember the Bible has that passage about mountains fall on us, hills cover us. We're gonna want to be just maybe even not even in existence anymore. So I sincerely apologize, Debbie, to Barbara and anybody else that might have taken that wrong, but it certainly was not at all what I meant. And in fact, I don't know if this was God kind of confirming my point, but the hotel where I'm staying, I was on the elevator with a number of people yesterday, and one lady works for BART in San Francisco, Bay Area Rapid Transit. And I don't know how the conversation went in this direction, but she said every 6 hours somebody is throwing themselves in front of a BART train. Every 6 hours this happens. And she said every BART train has a backup crew waiting because when this happens, the crew is traumatized, and I mean it takes its toll not only on the one who attempts to take their life, but on those who witness something like that. So my point was simply this: that there is a growing despair in the world among a lot of people who do not have God in their lives, or who are just simply hardening themselves so much to the point where they just really have nowhere else to turn, because God is the answer to all of our problems. So I just wanted to make that point. Sorry, Debbie, for going on and on about that. And again, I just really appreciate. I hope Barb is listening, and my sincere apologies, Barb, if what I said was hurtful to you. And you have my prayers and Debbie's prayers for you, and certainly for your son.
Absolutely. Jerry, first of all, you did a beautiful job in sharing that, and we could hear your heart, and that's beautiful. And it does lead me into saying again, you're at Redeemer Radio, and I'm at the Station of the Cross, and that's why it's so important, Jerry, that Catholic radio and television continues to go strong into the future. Because where are people going to get this connection to God, and this it's a lifeline to so many people, and it's really important. I was talking to the station owner and manager and founder, Jim Wright, this morning, and we were talking about that really we should all be running to the phones and supporting EWTN and all our local Catholic radio stations, because it must go strong so that people can tune in at any time, any point of the day, and receive God's word deep into their heart. So I wanted to add on to what you were saying. It's a perfect time for us to be reminded of that, Jerry, because I keep thinking to myself, what would I do if I turned on the radio one morning and all I heard was static on my Catholic radio station? It would really bother me terribly. So anyway, I wanted to share that, and also, so thanks, Jerry, for bringing that up. We're talking about street corner beggars today, and we also, I know what's going to get woven in, Jerry, is the corporal works of mercy, and what that means for us, and how we are to be Jesus to these people that really may need our help, and how do we help them. So if you, dear listeners, you drive this show, you're the ones that take this to the next level, and we learn from you. So call in and share your take on this, 1-800-585-9396. We do have one open phone line. This is how quickly this show fills up, which is great. That means you're listening. Go ahead, Jer.
Yeah, well, and we just, our social media guy, Jeff Burson, just provided us with a link to a story. A panhandler outside a Grand Central Terminal in New York says he makes up to $200 an hour from kind-hearted New Yorkers. And he says, he's quoted here, Will Anderson says, on a Friday morning, I make $400 in 2 hours. So a lot of people are generous. People are giving. And again, we want to know, you, our listeners, just what you think of this. What do you do? Do you carry around? A lot of people carry around coupons for fast food restaurants, or they'll hand out prayer cards, or even bottles of water or food, or do you give cash? These are the kinds of things we're talking about, and your takes, as always, will drive the show. So we'll have Rich play our first break right now. When we come back to packed phone lines, we'll hear what you have to say on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Here's our phone number, 1-800-585-9396. 1-800-585-9396. How do you approach, deal with, and maybe even help those on the street who present their need to you? We're coming right back on EWTN Radio. Stay with us.
Raymond Arroyo with Mother Angelica, A Remarkable Life. In the year 1943, young Rita Rizzo, Mother Angelica, was suffering from such terrible stomach maladies, she braved a blizzard to come here, to the home of Rhoda Wise. Now, Miss Wise was a local mystic in Canton, Ohio, and a purported healer. She greeted Rita at the door, brought her into her bedroom, and sat her in this chair. Now, Miss Wise contended our Lord sat in this chair mystically when they visited from time to time. She didn't touch Rita. She didn't pray over her. She just handed her novena to St. Therese of the Child Jesus and told her to pray that prayer. 9 days later, young Rita's stomach symptoms vanished, and thus began a lifelong love affair with God and untold works. Stay with EWTN as we celebrate the life and legacy of Mother Angelica.
We are so glad you're with us. You are the key part of the program here. Jerry Usher along with Debbie Georgianni. Take two with Jerry and Debbie. We're going to go to your calls now about this topic of what do we do for those who are on the street corners and they have the cardboard signs, the black marking pen, homeless, out of work, family to support, need your help. 1-800-585-9396 is the number. All right, we'll take you generally in the order that you call. So, Kathy, you're up first in Cincinnati, Ohio, listening to EWTN Radio on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Kathy. Welcome.
Hi.
So, what is your take on this?
Well, when I'm 67 now, but when I was working, I used to go get a carryout. And if I saw someone sitting, because downtown Cincinnati, you've got pretty many of them, I would ask them if they wanted a sandwich or a drink. And I would go in and get them a sandwich and a drink. Sometimes I came out and they were gone. But I never give money. And in this day and age, I just don't do it because I worry so much about drugs. But another thing that can be done, if you go to McDonald's, get a McDonald's gift card for $10. That buys a couple of meals. And sometimes if I get 10 hamburgers or 10 French fries, and I have a thing of water in my car, like 24 waters in my car, and I drive to the areas in my city that are pretty down and out, and you always see somebody sitting on the curb, and you just give them a hamburger, a French fries, and a water.
Right,
but
right.
That's what I do.
Well, Kathy, and here's the thing that I love about what you do. You're really making a very strong effort to get them food, which is one of the corporal works of mercy, to feed the hungry, and you're making that extra effort. And I think that I think that's really beautiful. I think that's very that's Christ-like. That's what we are all called to do, and I think that's wonderful. I like what you had to say about being nervous about giving money because you don't know what is going to be done with that money. And I would tend to agree with you on that because I've often thought, see, it's kind of a strange kind of thinking, but when I go to the corner and I used to keep a stack of $1 bills. I'm not trying to boast or anything, but I used to keep that because we have a lot on the stoplights in Arizona, and I would hand a $1 bill, and I would often drive away, and I would think, oh, I hope they don't do something foolish with that, like with alcohol or drugs, and it would bother me all day long. See, I really believe that from my own conscience, if you will, I would feel better. For me, I would feel better giving food. So I really like that, Kathy. I'm glad you shared that, Jerry.
No, I think it's a great idea. You're able to help somebody, and really in a way that perhaps sometimes people can harm themselves even more if you just give them money. And again, we're not to be the judge of what they're going to do. If we want to give them money, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think, like you said, Debbie, and as Kathy pointed out, we all need food. That's one thing, and you're hopeful that is one of the things that they're going to, if you were to give them money, that they would use it for. I think Kathy alluded to something about offering food to people and then turning around and they're gone. I've done that too. I've actually had people ask me for money on the street, and I said, well, here, there's a restaurant right here. Let me go in and get you something to eat. No thanks. Okay, so that causes me
tells
to
you
say,
something.
well, yeah, and where their heart is and what the real need is. So anyway, Kathy, anything else to add before we get to our next call?
I just don't mean to sound like I feel like everybody's on drugs, but you hear so much of it, and I'd rather feed their bellies than feed their needles, and that's how I look at it. And they all seem appreciative. I mean, seriously, out of all the times I've done it, I've only had one person that walked away when I came out with the sandwich. But when I go down to these areas in my own town where I know people are hungry, I mean, I'll just roll my window down and, people tell me I'm crazy because they don't know what's going to happen to me. But really and truthfully, I'll just yell out, here, you want some McDonald's? And they come running over, and they're very grateful for that. It's not much, but it's something.
Right. That's beautiful. Well, here's the other thing too. I just wanted to share is that in Arizona, St. Vincent de Paul's, and I heard that every St. Vincent de Paul does things a little differently, but in Arizona, they give out these cards that you can give to people that actually allow people, when you're at the corners, and this one in particular, it says, need a hand. It says ministry to the homeless, and they can go to the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. This is the one in Phoenix, and they could maybe get a shower, some clothing, a haircut, so they can get some of the basic needs and a meal as well. And those are really cool too, to be able, if you can't maybe go and do maybe what Kathy's was doing to get food, or actually give food like Jerry and Kathy were both talking about, you may want to contact your local Society of St. Vincent de Paul and find out if these cards are available at yours, because that's now, instead of the dollar bills, that's what I stick in that side little compartment in my car, and that's what I give out, because that really, Jerry and Kathy, it makes me feel good that they're going to get a shower, get a haircut, and that's going to give them that opportunity to be able to enter back into the world refreshed. I mean, there's nothing worse than to meet somebody and you see that they have not showered in days, and that, to me, that breaks my heart, and I know it does all our listeners. We have great Take Two listeners, but I don't know, Jerry, have you ever seen that in your St. Vincent de Paul in your area?
Oh, yeah, I think those are great ways to go about this. And Kathy, you have made a great contribution to our program. We thank you for that. And we'll let you go on that note and move along. We have busy phones here at 800-585-9396. Mike is driving through Wyoming listening to EWTN radio on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Mike. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Oh, good afternoon, you folks. Oh, it's morning still. Sorry.
Welcome.
I don't give any money out to these people. It's not because, you think about it, a lot of homeless people make bad financial decisions to begin with. So you're not really helping them without giving them an education on how to really handle their money and teach them that, the money's just a tool like anything else. Don't covet it and don't use it for frivolous means. So what I basically do is I carry like water, packs of granola bars or Stoopies, those little cup soups and stuff. And whenever I run into them, they're like, hey, can you help me out? Sure. And I'll throw all kinds of goodies at them. Say, good luck. Hope everything works out down the road. And that's all I can tell them. And the only reason why I do this is because everybody carries backpacks with them. And the guy who's making like $200 an hour, stealing from the real poor at the train stations and everything, that guy won't have incentive to be doing that if there's no profit in it. And the people can actually go donate the money where it really will help somebody instead of some guy scamming and making a king's ransom. Well, the people who are really starving out there are collecting nothing. So that's why I don't hand out money.
Yeah. Well, and Mike, you raised something that is very, very important too in all of this, and we've kind of alluded to it. When you offer somebody food and they say, "Oh, no, thanks," then you start to think, "Okay, well, what do they really want the money for?" And then I have had people, and this happens too very often. I'm sure we've all had it happen. You're at a gas station or something, and somebody will come up and they launch into this very tightly scripted story. I need bus fare. My car broke down. My wife's over there with our 3 kids. I mean, it's just, and I'm sorry, I'm a little jaded because I've helped people like that before, only to find them just hanging around the gas station that day, and I see them the next day, and they're not going anywhere. And so, Debbie, I think some people, It's unfortunate, but they actually handicap those who are really in need by doing what Mike is referring to as the scamming.
Right. Well, and back, Mike, to what I was saying earlier about the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, there are a lot of Catholic organizations, a lot of Christian organizations, a lot of community organizations out there that are willing to help people really get back into society, into the workforce, get cleaned up, and really get back out there in a new way. And I would, this is just me now, I would encourage that we start doing that more than just maybe sometimes relieving our conscience, if you will. I'm not saying for everybody, but I know that it's hard for me to pass somebody who's in need. It's hard for me to do that. I don't feel good the rest of the day. I feel horrible. And there's so many people on street corners now that maybe we should start really spending that time, a little bit of time in conversation, and say, do you know there's resources to get you off of the street? Are you aware of this? Have you pursued it? Here's a card. Here's an address. Here's a bus ticket. To get people, to give them the resources. I struggle, especially when I see teenagers on street corners. I spoke to a boyfriend and girlfriend in Arizona who make this, I guess, their living, and I was so compelled to just want to find out what would make them stand in 110-degree heat and beg for money. And they told me it was easier than anything else. That was their answer. It's the easiest thing for them to do. And that made me sick. It really did, because I'm thinking these are bright young minds and hearts and souls, and they're standing on a corner in 110-degree heat. That's not good. Something's really wrong. I agree, Mike. We got to educate people, get people back into the system. So that was my take on it. I'm glad Mike brought it up.
Yeah, anything else, Mike? Mike's not with us anymore.
Mike, because he's driving. He just kept driving. Bye, Mike.
True.
Safe traveling.
He may have had something else to add, but we can't hear it, Mike, because you're not on the line anymore. So thanks so very, very much. Charles in Mishawaka, Indiana, listening to EWTN Radio on Sirius XM 130. Charles, you're up next. We got about 2.5 till the break, Charles, so we may have to carry you over, but go ahead and get started. How you doing?
Okay, how are you?
Pretty well, thanks. I appreciate the call.
Okay. I'm on the air, ready to talk?
Yes,
you are. And
Charles.
if you start to hear music, that'll be for our break, but we'll carry you over.
All right. I'm calling from South Bend, Indiana, which is about right where the University of Notre Dame, Fort Wayne, South Bend Diocese, where your Redeemer program is, a half hour from Fort Wayne.
Absolutely.
Calling about these scammers, WNDU, which is affiliated with the University of Notre Dame television station, a couple of years ago ran a program on these people standing on the streets and hidden cameras and everything. And you've seen these people at the end of the day get together, put their money together, walking into liquor stores, buying cigarettes. And it just puts the damper on things that for people that really are down and out. It makes you wonder: are they going to go? Are they scammers? Are they true down on their luck? And also, you tell these people, if you go to the corner, say, hey, McDonald's is hiring. Oh, we applied there. They never call us. That's the answers you give. So, I mean, it's just a few bad apples to spoil it for the people. You don't know who to trust, It's a shame.
Well, that's true, Charles. And by the way, thanks for listening to Redeemer Radio. And what they've done this spring is they have split out their share-a-thons. They've had Fort Wayne and South Bend both together. But next week is your share-a-thon, Charles. So Sherry Brownrigg, our colleague, will be there in South Bend for that. So please be generous. And this week it's going very, very well here in Fort Wayne. But, yeah, Debbie, again, Charles just kind of reinforces the whole thing. It's tough not to be jaded, Debbie. It's so hard not to be jaded and to just not harden our hearts and say, well, you know what, I'm not going to give anything because you're just going to waste it or do some. Again, we got to try and strike a balance here. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit on the other side of the break. Charles, thank you for the call. We really appreciate it. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Our number, 1-800-585-9396. How do you approach those who ask for money on the street?
60 Seconds with Father Mitch Pacwa.
This communion with Jesus and with one another, that being united to Him and abiding in Him, That is the indispensable condition for bearing fruit. That's why our Lord says, back in John 15, verse 5, apart from me, you can do nothing. If you're not united to Christ, you're not going to do anything for him. So communion with Jesus, our Savior, focusing on him and getting to know him and be known by him, that is what makes it possible for us to bear fruit as Christians. And communion with others is the most magnificent fruit that the branches can give. That's one of the things that he's looking for from us, that we have a communion with one another, that we have a love and a concern. Does it mean we agree with one another? Not necessarily.
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
He alone can see them, the dark things we ignore. 12-year-old Will Wilder sought a relic with rare powers. Now, he has awoken an ancient evil, and the only way to save the town of Perilous Falls is to embrace his destiny before it's too late. So long as he isn't grounded at the time. Chip Flaherty calls it a pulse-pounding page-turner. Think Indiana Jones meets Percy Jackson. Dean Koontz raves, great fun and great frights. The search for the next epic must-read adventure series is over.
To get your copy of Will Wilder, The Relic of Perilous Falls by Raymond Arroyo, plus a free DVD of the interview with Raymond on EWTN Live, log on to our web store, EWTNRC.com, and type in item 9592 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Or call 1-800-854-6316.
We're so glad you joined us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. Okay, you can call in and join this conversation. We're having a really good conversation. I'm taking a lot of notes. That's how I know it's a great conversation, when I can walk away and review the show and realize, wow, you guys are awesome. You're like catechetical leaders. You're so great. We're talking about begging on street corners, those fine, wonderful souls that you see that really have been reduced to asking and begging for money. That's who they are. And I will tell you that I have had some great encounters with people that have been on street corners. Our lights in Arizona take a lot of time. We have all these turning signals and turning lights. So you have about it feels like forever, but it's probably only a minute and a half. But I've had some really interesting encounters and some beautiful souls. And it's interesting of why they would feel the need to have to do that day in and day out. So let's talk about it. 1-800-585-9396. We're going to go to Mr. Frost, and I believe you called yesterday. I don't know if we got you on the air in Massachusetts. Listening. Hi, Mr. Frost. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hey, good morning. I just had you on speakerphone. Yes, I have a call because I heard you have that testimony concerning the train system in California. They run from Walnut Creek to San Francisco, Oakland.
Right.
And I thank you for that testimony because it got me a call. When people want to give up their life, it's terrible and it's a crime, and it doesn't have to be. I think it's a fault of the church body for not educating people right and letting them go on their own too early in life, or just giving them something to do in the home or the business. In 1970, when I was out there, they were jumping off bridges. At the end of the beatnik generation, the Jesus movement had just started. They're getting people introduced to Christ again. But the thing is, we need that. I thank you that keep testimony on this. Us Christians, us people of the faith, who can turn things around. I met so many people who thought their parents, their kids, and their mother and father, their brothers and sisters couldn't help them out. They had to do it on their own, Lone Rangers. Until sometimes when I meet them, I let them talk, and when they talk, they give me things about their life. And one young person, I found she had a big family 40 miles away that I knew in the 1950s. And I said,
You don't have to do this. You have family. You go there. Sometimes you're afraid to go there. And another man, this was back in 2006, I didn't give him any money, but I found out he had 4 brothers and a sister and parents, and why would he talk to them? See? So I confronted him. I let him talk first, and then all of a sudden, maybe I went too hard on him, but I just said, you got 4 brothers and a sister. You don't have to do this. In one day and age, it was called being a vagrant. A bum, you could get arrested. So that's my thing. The church has to do it. In 1990s in my town, we had 2 denominations, the Lutheran Brotherhood, and we took out $300,000. And we bought a 3-decker, and we turned it in. We call it the Worcester Home for the Mentally Ill. And we had to close it 3 years later because not enough volunteers came up and maybe management, but we tried it. It's a community that does these things that can get people rethinking. And when people know you have a strong community, they won't be on the streets anymore.
Well, I want to say a couple things there, Mr. Frost. Thanks for your call, first of all. And this has to be one of the saddest realities of all. If somebody is down on their luck, legitimately, or even if they're just out trying to scam people, but they're out on the street, maybe homeless, having to beg for money, beg for food, all of these things, and they have family, especially right in that area, perhaps. A lot of people choose maybe not to have their family help them, but Debbie, if the family makes the choice to say, well, that's his problem, that's his situation, he chose it, or he got himself into it, or he became an alcoholic or a drug addict or whatever, that to me is so sad because we are family, especially blood relatives. So I know that it does happen on occasion, Deb, and if a family abandons a sibling or a family member like that, it's really very, very tragic. It is completely tragic. Going back to that family, I hope Mr. Frost is listening. Going back to that, I'm sorry, not the family, the couple, the young couple that I had spoken with, and they said it was just easier to be out on the streets. They didn't want to get into it, but you could tell. I mean, they didn't. From me, I've worked with teens for many, many years, so you can somewhat kind of assess if teens are on drugs or alcohol. Just maybe they were, but they didn't seem like it when I was talking to them. And when they said it was easier, you have to wonder what they were running from. They had to be running from something. They had to have some kind of wound or some kind of feeling that it was easier to be in 110-degree heat than to be in their homes. Or I asked about their families, and they said they have pretty good families, which was interesting. So there's some disconnect that's happening with the folks that are out on the streets and those of the rest of us trying to figure out why they are there. And I know we could say that there is that element of people on the streets that have fallen into drugs and alcohol. Yes, but then there's the ones that are running from something, or they feel so disconnected from society that being out on the street and begging is the easiest way. So I don't know. This is a tough subject, and I think it's good that we're talking about it. Thanks, Mr. Frost, for your contribution today on Take Two. We really do appreciate it. And thanks for calling back from yesterday's show. That's awesome when our listeners call back from the day before. That means you're listening on a regular basis. How exciting is that, Jerry? Yeah, thank you all for your calls. 800-585-9396. Thank you all for your patience. Bill, you've been most patient in Augusta, Georgia, listening to EWTN Radio there on FM 91.1. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Bill, how are you?
Hey, I'm fine. How are you doing today?
Pretty well, thanks. Looking forward to your take on this. What's up?
Hey, 2 stories really quick. One prototypical and one that's going to make your heart shine. So, story 1, there was 4 guys that were in their old Army fatigues, and they had an American flag, and they're standing out in front of a grocery store, and they're saying, need food. And, of course, everybody ends up giving them cash. And as soon as they got enough cash, they would go across the street to the restaurant where my wife happened to work, and they would drink up all the cash. And then as soon as they ran out of money and out of beer, they would go back across the street and stand out in front again. About the third time that happened, the owner of the restaurant said, "Hey, look, you guys can't come in here anymore. You know, you're asking people for food, and then you're misusing that money to basically get drunk." So I was very, very concerned about this. I talked to the priest about it, and he said, "Look, if you really, what's the reason you help people?" And he says, you help them because you love them. You want to help them the way Christ helped us. So if you're going to help people, you have to give them something that's actually going to help them, and you want to give them what they actually need, not necessarily what they're asking for. So now we get to the second story. I and my wife are going cross-country with our kids. We're going to visit some relatives, and we pull into a gas station, and across from us is a car with a very young woman in it, and the car is full of kids and full of just big trash bags full of everything that they ever owned in the car. And so I'm filling up the car, and she comes across, and she says, "Sir, can you help me?" In the back of your mind, you're going, "Okay, here we go." And I said, "Sure, perhaps. What do you need?" Now, she was specific. She said, "Look, my husband left me and abandoned me and the kids. The church has given us the cash we need to get back to California so I can go back and live with my mom. They basically gave us the gasoline money and basic food money, but that's all they could give." And she says, "What I need specifically is my car burns oil, and I'm probably going to need 3 quarts oil between here and California. And maybe, just maybe, you might give me some snacks for the kids, because we have basic food, but we don't have any snacks, and the kids are going to be sitting in the car for a long time." I said, "Sure." So we went into a little gas station and got exactly what she said. I got her 4 quarts of oil. She asked for 3. I said, "Hey, take the 4th one. You might need it." And then we went down the shelves. I said, "What do your kids like to eat?" And she picked out this and that and that and this. And then I went and paid for it. And she gave me a hug and jumped in her car, and off she drove. Now, that's what it is. She knew exactly what she needed, and she's willing to accept exactly what she asked for. And so then I knew that I helped her.
Great stories, Bill. Great stories. And it reaffirms what I think we were saying at the beginning of the show as well, Bill, is that, with these cards that you can get from different organizations in the communities like St. Vincent de Paul or other organizations, or even maybe your church does one that's nearby, you're giving them what they need. And I like what you had to say, what they need, the needs. And that's what we're called to do really as Christians, is to give others what they truly need, not necessarily what maybe they want to have for some other reason that may not be good for their spiritual health or even their physical health. So I go back to, I have to tell you, I agree with you, Bill, 100% on this one, because I've gone back to giving resources to them. And let me tell you, there's been a few of them have thrown them right down on the ground. They've just tossed what I've handed them right down on the ground. And I go, oh, well. But as a Christian, maybe that's what we're called to do, is just to give them the things they truly do need, so that it can advance them. I would say, Bill, I'm going to vote for you on the short take today, because I really like that. Yeah.
And the Patience Award.
And he gets 2 awards today? That's not. Okay, Bill, we'll give it to you. Jerry,
Anything
what do you
else,
think
Bill?
about? Yeah.
No, I think it's great. Yeah. Bill, any other thoughts to add before we move on?
Well, yeah, just one real quick is just like you said, you give them exactly what they need. But even on the ones where they threw down the item, let's say they said, "I'm hungry, I want a hamburger," and you're standing in front of some fast food restaurant, and you hand them a hamburger and they throw it to the ground. The point is, though, even if they threw it in the ground, God's going to use that as a way of talking to their souls later and going, "Hey, look, you said you were hungry. They provided you with food." I think He's going to use it as a tool later on to reach them. And it may not be today or tomorrow. It may be 6 years from now. But you did show the proper love by giving them what they needed, and I think that'll work in God's favor later at some point, and their favor. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, great point, Bill. And again, it gets back to it's not up to us really to determine what the immediate fruit of our actions is going to be. Like if we give people money, sometimes there is that thought in our minds, well, they're just going to go out and spend it on alcohol or drugs or whatever. We don't know that. I mean, they may spend it on food. They may spend it on something we'd rather they not have. But our responsibility is to be Christ to them, and to be merciful and to be generous, and then entrust that to God, so that you're planting seeds, that grace can be be unleashed from heaven and work in their lives, in our lives, and in that entire situation. So, Bill, thank you very much for your call and your take on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie here on EWTN Radio. We're going to move right along. David is listening to EWTN Radio on EWTN.com in Dallas. Hi, David. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Okay, where are you seeing David? Because I don't see David.
I'm seeing David on my call screen.
No, I don't have a David.
Okay. Well, who are you seeing?
I see Lisa. I don't have a David on EWTN.com in I believe, Wisconsin, Lisa? Lisa, is that you? No, Lisa.
Okay.
The lights are all
I'm seeing
flickering.
David's and you're seeing Lisa's.
Wow, this is okay. Now they're saying to go to. Well, I don't know who to go to. But can I just say something real quickly, Jerry? Because Bill brought something up that is really interesting. I mean, we've got to kind of face this with a sense of reality on this. Don't you kind of think that the people on the streets realize that the majority of people that they are encountering, Jerry, are good people that have a conscience, that want to help? I mean, when you really think about this for a minute, I mean, I know, you got to kind of, I mean, really look at this. Logically, of course they're going to pick a street corner. If 100 people go by, they're probably thinking 90 people are going to do something nice for them. Because most people are really good and kind. And so I don't know. I think sometimes it does set us up for these kinds of conversations so that we can really understand what is our role as a Catholic Christian. Okay, Lisa, I know now we're waiting for you in Wisconsin. I would see Lisa. I stalled a little just to get you on. Hi, Lisa.
Praise Jesus. Good afternoon.
Hi.
I guess I'm going to kind of curtail what I was saying before, but because there's been a lot of good feedback already. But I think I want to add maybe more of a proactive statement here, because I would just be reiterating what everyone else has been saying, but maybe from a diocesan level across the globe, what maybe we should think about implementing, especially in this year of mercy, is somewhere on a diocesan level, have someone from some office create a resource card or list that can be put in your parish bulletins on a weekly basis, so that every parishioner can take one and put in their wallet or their purse, or cell phone cases, now I guess what most people are carrying, and have on it resources that you can ascertain from that card if you do meet someone on the streets. What are they needing? Are they telling you that they need a place to stay? Are they telling you that they're hungry and they need food? On that resource card, have a listing of your homeless shelters, have a listing of the soup kitchens or other, entities that I would hope most of them would be church-related versus state-related, that can help these people out of their need. And
right.
I think that, in brief, that would help us, because we have to be proactive. I mean, I understand why certain people don't want to give money, if they know it's going to be abused. But if you're answering another need for that person that might not just be for that moment or that day, but for the whole week or for the whole month, a place to sleep at night and to keep themselves out of the cold or the rain or whatever, or a place where they know every day at 12 noon they can go to the soup kitchen and get a warm, hot meal.
Right.
Lisa, because we're already paying into that. Our taxes or the collections on Sundays, a portion of that money is already going to that. So everyone collectively, we are always giving. And the institutions and things are already set up, but we need to direct these people there, because they also have staff that can help them beyond just what their initial needs are.
Right. Lisa, that is excellent that you called in. Thank you for taking the time and making this call, because you jogged my memory, and so I appreciate that. Remember, I'm 50, so you have to jog my memory every once in a while. But here's the thing. In my diocese in Phoenix, and I know that other dioceses around the country, there is a list that you can get of all of the places that people that are in need can get services, like even counseling services for some issues, mental illness and depression, and being on the street with addiction, or being homeless, or just out of work temporarily. And a lot of dioceses have these lists. I would suggest that maybe it just takes leaders like you, Lisa, to call your diocese, get the list, and then circulate it to parishes, or even have the diocese. The diocese has the ability to send it to every parish and say, in the year of mercy, 'cause I think it's a great idea. In the year of mercy, it's important for all of our churches to know what's out there to point people in the right direction. And there's no reason why people can't print 20 or 30 copies off, roll them up and put a little ribbon around it and have them ready in the car so you can hand it to people when you see them on the street in need of help. Lisa, I think that is brilliant. It just reminded me, I'm going to go on to the Diocese of Phoenix and pull the list off of my diocese. That's brilliant. I love it. Jerry?
No, I can't add anything more to that. I think it's wonderful when we hear about efforts like that are a little more organized and provide real concrete things for people. So, Lisa, appreciate that. Did you want to add anything else?
I thank you for all that you do, and may God continue to bless your ministry.
Well, thank you, and keep us in. Thank you for your prayers. We will have you in our prayers as well, Lisa. And it's great to have you part of the Take Two with Jerry and Debbie family. All right, we're going to go to Mary in Chicago, listening to EWTN Radio in the Windy City. Hi, Mary. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hello.
Hello, Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Yes. Hello. I just wanted. I was homeless for a couple of years. Me and my boyfriend hitchhiked across the country because I ran away from a tumultuous family. And nobody's addressing the mental illness issue. And how instead of so much judgment, maybe some prayers, even if you don't want to give money, maybe some prayers. But the judgment is incredibly hostile. And I was a smoker. So I'm an addict. I could not put them down. It took me years to get rid of them. And it took the Lord. I had to ask the Lord. But nobody taught me. Nobody gave me anything that I wish someone would have gave me a prayer card or said they'd pray with me. Just a lot of judgmental people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're forgetting the mental illness factor.
Right. Right. Well, Mary,
a prayer.
Yeah, we appreciate you calling because you lived through it, and so you can share with us what it feels like, and that's why we have these conversations. If we haven't been there, how do we really know unless we talk to someone who has actually lived through it like you? And you're right on. And I think it goes back to Lisa when she says we've got to download what's happening in our diocese and to have the resources. And you're right, Mary, mental illness in general, around this world is not addressed properly. It's not. And that's a tragedy. And addictions are somewhat not even addressed properly as well. And we've got to learn to relearn these things and to draw closer. And like you said, Mary, not walk away or even run away from somebody that may have an illness or an addiction, but to draw closer in prayer. And like I think you said it so beautifully. And how beautiful would it have been, Mary, if somebody handed you and said, Mary, God loves you. You're created in the image and likeness of God. Let's say a prayer together, and then here, take a look at these resources because you need to go out there and you need to change the world because God created you. And so you confirmed that, Mary, by just calling in and sharing what you shared. And this helps all of us. So thank you for having that courage. You sound like a beautiful, strong woman, and you survived being on the streets. And it sounds like God is, and we pray for continued blessings in your life. Jerry?
No, I just wanted to know, Mary, if you wanted to add anything else to that.
No, what she said, I was going to say, if someone would have just said, hey, can I say a prayer with you? God loves you. I never heard that. And so thanks for that. Thanks for listening. And thanks for that prayer.
Absolutely, Mary.
Yeah, and thank you, Mary, for calling. And I I just will take this moment to repent for any hardness of my heart and ask forgiveness of anyone who has gone through this or is going through it right now. It's easy to get comfortable and complacent and judgmental when things are going pretty well and you're not going through a situation like that, like you said, Debbie. And so I know I've been guilty of that, so I just lay that out there and ask God to forgive me for that. And going forward, especially in this year of mercy, just praying that my heart will be softened. But we have to mix charity and compassion with prudence and wisdom as well, as we've talked about here on the show. So,
Absolutely.
I don't know if we're going to get to Minnie or not.
I don't think so. But Minnie, can you email us? Minnie, it sounds like you have a great comment, a great take. Maybe email us at take2@ewtn.com or go on to the Take Two website and post your comment, or on EWTN Catholic Radio Facebook. Minnie, we want to hear from you. We want to keep the conversation going. I'm so sorry we couldn't get to you. Jerry?
Well, yeah, Minnie, forgive us for that, but we would just get you on the air and probably have to cut you off because we got about a minute and a half before our closing music starts. And Debbie, it's been great being back with you these last couple days, and I certainly look forward to, of course, returning again tomorrow. And I just want to mention that coming up tonight on Catholic Answers Live, that's going to be Jimmy Aiken with an open forum Q&A, followed by Father Joseph Fessio. And then at 8 p.m. right after that, The World Over with Raymond Arroyo. He's going to have Laura Ingram, Bishop Matthew Kuka of Sokoto, Nigeria, and Jesuit priest Sean Salai as well. So great programming still coming up on EWTN Radio today.
Exciting. Tomorrow's show is I Thought You Were My Friend, when you felt abandoned by your friend when you were in need or suffering. And so this is going to be a really good topic, a very deep topic. So you definitely want to tune in tomorrow. And Jerry, I heard that the One Faith Experience DVDs are flying off the shelves.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of people apparently wished they had been there or weren't able to watch it on EWTN. Debbie and I and our team at Third Millennium Media had a big conference in St. Louis at Chaffetz Arena last Saturday. 6 great speakers. Starting off in the morning, it was Father Larry Richards, Adam Bly, Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers. In the afternoon, Teresa Tomeo, Hector Molina, and Tim Staples. And we are working now on the DVD set. It's going to be a few weeks before it's ready, but if you want to pre-order that, we've got a special going on. The price you see at onefaithexperience.com is 30% off of what it's going to be later for the regular price. And so we would love to have you order that. And Debbie, we had a great time with the speakers, a little extra look inside their lives and ministries, so we're going to include bonus footage as well.
That's going to be exciting, so go to onefaithexperience.com. Dear listeners, you are amazing. Take Two listeners are the best. When we want to see you tomorrow, call in, or hear you tomorrow, call in. But until then, Jerry and I want to wish you an absolute, beautiful, and blessed day. Don't forget to support your local Catholic radio stations. It's Pledge Drive season, and don't forget EWTN. We love you guys. See you tomorrow.